Hey, listen!
Welcome everyone, this is On This Restart, and this Metroid Prime 2 and 3 remastered situation has just gotten even more interesting. So with the release of Metroid Prime Remastered, the excitement for the Metroid series is at an all-time high, and a lot of people are now pulling for Prime 2 and 3 to also come to the Switch. And given how amazing the remaster was, a lot of people are hoping and thinking that they're going to do the same exact thing for 2 and 3. However, there has been a rumor for some time already, with the initial rumor about Prime Remaster and the big boy remaster treatment from Jeff Grubb. 2 and 3 were included as a part of that rumor, but as less significant remasters. However, again, someone else who has a pretty good track record with these things, Nate the Hate, has sent something a little bit different on his podcast, suggesting that maybe we don't get 2 and 3 at all, but we get Metroid Prime 4 later this year. So what is happening here? Of these three scenarios, which one is the most likely? That's what we're talking about today. So let's go over the full story here first. So, for the last few years, the entire trilogy has been rumored to be coming to Nintendo Switch at some point or another. And even more recently, these rumors have suggested that Metroid Prime 1 would be getting more of a significant remaster, in the words of Jeff Grubb, a big boy remaster, but 2 and 3 would come later down the road, but perhaps not be as significant. However, Jeff Grubb had heard that Prime Remastered would come out for the holiday of 2022, and he bet his hair on it. It didn't happen. He had to shave his hair, and all of a sudden, randomly, Nintendo shadow drops Metroid Prime Remastered without making much of a significant announcement about it. No big sort of event, no one coming out on stage or anything like that, and a game comes out immediately for $40, and everyone's talking about it right now. But with this game finally coming out, it begs the question, so does that mean that 2 and 3 are also coming as well? Well, Max Wright on Twitter said this: when Jeff Grubb first spoke about Prime Remastered, he also said that his understanding was that Prime 2 and 3 would also be on their way, just not fully remastered. And then Jeff Grubb quote tweets this and says, correct. So here Jeff Grubb is letting everyone know that he's maintaining his stance that Prime 2 and 3 are coming. However, looking at how impressive the remaster is, there's a lot of speculation and talk that 2 and 3 are going to get the same treatment. What if they do something like, say for the June Nintendo Direct, they remaster Prime 2 in the exact same way as 1, comes out for $40, and it's also shadow dropped for an E3 style June Direct. And then in September, when they usually have a September Direct, they do the same thing for Prime 3 Corruption. And this would all set things up for a Prime 4 release sometime next year. I honestly love the idea of that, and I'm not going to completely outrule it because you never really know. You don't know what exactly is happening behind the scenes. However, given Jeff Grubb's track history, telling us about a whole bunch of games, the most recent one being Prime Remastered finally being confirmed, and when he said it would be a big boy remaster, well, looking at Prime Remastered, it's about as big boy as you could have imagined, I would say. So, pretty significant deal there, but part of that rumor also included 2 and 3 coming to Switch but not being as significantly remastered. So, if we're to believe the rumor, which now has extra credence, I would say we probably should err on the side of caution here and not expect 2 and 3 to be as significant. But it does strengthen the idea that they are coming though. And just because they won't be redone to the same extent doesn't mean they can't still be special. Something that I think is important to note here is that both Prime 2 and 3 are more updated than 1. They have better visuals, they have more quality of life improvements, they're a little bit more modern. So by being a little bit more modern, they will hold up a little bit better, especially with some remaster enhancements. So the way I see this going down, I envisioned that the entire control setup, where we had 4 different control methods with some decent customization options, I think all that is going to carry over and will be exactly the same for 2 and 3. And considering that multiple different studios helped out with the Retro Studios remaster Prime 1, it wouldn't surprise if one of those studios is the one handling 2 and 3 remasters. Specifically, it might be Iron Galaxy. They have a history of porting over games. And the games will still likely see some enhancements visually, at the very least be in 1080p, still maintaining 60 frames per second. I think the best way to envision these games would be something like maybe Skyward Sword HD. So with Skyward Sword HD, the game was running at a clean, beautiful 1080p, 60 frames per second, and it looked substantially better because of the far cleaner, more vibrant look of the higher resolution. And they may even clean up some textures like they've done with other remasters like Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD, and maybe even enhance the lighting a little bit. It may not just be a bare bones scale up to 1080p. And if they do some simple things like that, the games will still look substantially better. Will they be as reworked as Prime 1? Will they be still in the conversation for best looking games on Switch? No, but they will still look pretty good and be very enjoyable. Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, games that came out around the same time with the same type of hardware, they had more basic HD style remasters, and they still hold up pretty well today. If this is how 2 and 3 are handled though, don't expect them to actually be called remastered. They might just get like the HD logo instead or something like that. In terms of pricing, I don't see them coming out for $40 the same way unless they get the same treatment. So either A, they're packed together, which I personally find unlikely that they would release 2 and 3 together and 1 on its own, especially when Nintendo usually doesn't pack in large games like that. More likely, I would say maybe they both release for $30 each, and still maybe we see each one come out around each Nintendo Direct this year. But this is all assuming they do come, because there is a possibility that they don't come. At the end of the day, this is still just a rumor. Just because Prime 1 came doesn't mean the other two will. And Nate the Hay in his recent podcast suggested that he doesn't expect for them to come, but instead, he expects that Prime 1 is sort of like the appetizer for Metroid Prime 4, potentially even coming out by the end of this year, and if not, early next year. While I would love to get 2 and 3, if we end up getting Prime 4 sooner than expected, that would also be not so bad. And in some ways I find this kind of interesting for the Metroid series, because part of me has a concern that if Nintendo comes out with Prime 1 now and it looks amazing, but then Prime 2 and 3 coming out later down the road, they are a little bit cheaper, but it's 3 different games in 1 year, maybe that's too much in a short span of time to then just follow it up with Prime 4. And if Prime 4 is saved for next year and it comes out alongside new hardware, that might work out well, but I definitely think it needs to at least be cross-gen. Of course, the later we wait into Switch's life cycle, the less impact Metroid Prime 4 will get by the Switch effect. The Switch effect being games selling a lot better on Switch. And the thing about Metroid Prime 4, there's so much riding on this game. This game has been anticipated for such a long time. It has a huge opportunity to push the series to an even greater height in terms of sales potential here, reaching an even larger audience. So from one angle, you could argue giving us 1, then 2, and 3 at discounted prices shall drop that like this will get everyone on board, get everyone excited, get everyone aware of what the Metroid Prime series is all about. But what if Nate the Hate is right? We have Prime 1 now, we enjoy this excitement now for the early part of the year, but what if for the second half this year, where we don't really know anything beyond July, by the way, for the last 5 months of the year, we have no idea what Nintendo is going to be releasing. They haven't told us anything. What if Metroid Prime 4 is their big holiday release? What if they give Metroid Prime 4 the second half as that big internal project they've been working on for such a long time, and it gives it the best opportunity to be extremely successful, and then next year, when the next system comes out, they'll probably launch it with a big 3D Mario, and then at some point in the year, they have an updated version for Prime 4 that looks and runs better, maybe with DLC, some sort of expansion quest. The same thing they might even do for Zelda as well. Think something like what we saw for PS5 and Spider-Man Miles Morales. That is one way they could go about doing things here, and it would also create another double dip situation. So the same way a lot of us Metroid fans are going to play Prime 1 now with the digital version, a lot of us are going to try and pick up the physical version as well. So potentially Nintendo can enjoy Tears of the Kingdom sales this year and Metroid Prime 4 sales this year, but when the next system comes out next year, they release updated versions with DLC expansion quests that are pretty significant, and we enjoy those too. That is a possibility. Now, what is Nintendo actually going to do? My belief is that Metroid Prime 2 and 3 are going to come to Switch. How they are spaced out, how they are released, how they market this alongside Metroid Prime 4, that's definitely a big question mark. Because Prime Remaster, according to Jeff Grubb, was initially planned for a holiday release last year, But instead, Nintendo randomly decided to just shadow drop it in February right behind Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe and release it for $40, even though you can make a pretty easy argument for this game being one of, if not the most impressive games on Switch. So sometimes things can be strange, but maybe this is all a part of Nintendo having this really unique marketing method where they don't talk about it, they shadow drop it at a cheap price, it being super impressive, it markets itself, the word of mouth, it creates this excitement, more people are playing Metroid than ever before, and this is going to really set up the success for Prime 4. They could do something similar, maybe they shadow drop 2 and 3 at a cheaper price, and maybe when they announce them when they finally show off Prime 4, that way the letdown of 2 and 3 not looking as impressive as Prime 1 is still exciting because you get to still play 2 and 3, they're still cheaper, they still look good, they still play well with all the control options, but we'll already have some footage of Prime 4 to really build the anticipation for that while we play the first 3 games in 2023, waiting for its release in 2024. This is how things could go down. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways everyone, this is On Just Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.